Hey everybody, welcome as always to David Swor. I am DJ Cox to Dirtbags and Pinstripes. David is a Yankees fan. I am a Cubs fan, so this show is going to hurt a little bit for one of us. I was already hurt weeks ago, so it's kind of your time this week, David.
Well, DJ, I have a buddy who tries to troll me all the time. He's a Red Sox fan and just make fun of the Yankees. And my only response to him is it's always the same. Hey, at least I got something to talk about. The Red Sox were in last place. Who cares? The Cubs, same. They weren't in the last, but they might as well have been. They were that far out. So, hey, I'll take losing in the
Oh,
playoffs versus being in the last.
I've got a bone to pick with you on that too, by the way, because I was going back and listening to our picks at the beginning of the year, and you distinctly said that the Cincinnati Reds would finish above the Chicago Cubs this year. So how do you feel about that one, David?
It was a lot closer to my thing happening than to what your thing that was going to happen, which was the finishing first in their division. So I'll stick with my pick. It was closer to being right than you.
That's very true. Okay, so all right, man. So we are at the World Series, the best time of the year. We have the first time matchup of Phillies and Astros, David, and it's kind of the first time because the Astros were in the National League for so long, though it hasn't really had a ton of opportunities to happen. But cool matchup nonetheless. First time it's ever happened with these two teams in it. At the beginning of the playoffs, I don't think anybody saw Philadelphia coming. I will give props to Steven Shelton, who's a big, was really high on the Phillies, and thought that they were going to be a really big menace. I don't think I saw this coming with the Phillies. I'll just be honest with you. But man, what a series it was with the Padres. They made short, quick work of them. Wasn't even a series really. In game one, David, if you remember, I know we're going back here a little bit, but Kyle Schwarber was 2 for 3 in that game. Bryce Harper, a big bomb in that game in the fourth inning off of Yu Darvish, deep to left field, and then Schwarber hit one in the sixth inning. That ball was an absolute nuke, man. 488 feet, 120 miles an hour off the bat to the upper deck of the San Diego right field bleacher area. They were talking to a lot of the Padres players, David, and they had never seen a ball go up there, even in batting practice. So that was a bomb. That man can no doubt hit absolute shot. What did you think of Schwarber's bomb?
Yeah, unreal. I was actually watching the game when he hit that, and it was one of those home runs where the outfielder doesn't move. Just unbelievable. And I can't remember who the player was in the Phillies dugout, but it was literally like jaw drop. It might have been Bryce Harper.
It
Now that I
was
think
Bryce Harper. Yep.
it was just like, oh my gosh, did you just see that? And I'm not a guy who's ever given Schwarber much props, to be honest with you. I just don't like low average guys, you know that. But wow, I guess that's the power. You know, the Yankees have always been intrigued by Schwarber, and I guess maybe once you see that, you get it a little bit.
You really do, man. And what a season he's had and what a playoffs he's had from a productive standpoint. I do agree with you. The average was not there in the playoffs either, but he had a lot of big home runs and RBI, which helped him a ton in the series. And David, Yu Darvish did not pitch bad. He got taken for the loss, but the offense did nothing to help him. And Darvish pitched a solid 7 innings with 2 runs and 7 Ks on his point. Only the 2 home runs he allowed. But David, the difference in this game was Zach Wheeler, man. He went 7 innings, gave up 1 hit, 8 strikeouts, was absolutely nasty and dominant. And to me, was the greatest pitching performance in this series by far that we saw in game one from Zach Wheeler. So, what were your thoughts on him, man?
You know, I don't know why we're surprised, DJ, to be
I
honest. You know
agree.
what I mean? Zach Wheeler, I was looking at his stats the other day, actually, after that game. He's been an ace for a minute, and you know, it really just kind of flies under the radar. This year, 282 ERA. Last year, 278 ERA. The year before, 292 ERA. I mean, that's an ace. 200 innings. Last year, didn't have as much this year. I think he had some injury problems there, but yeah, the Phillies with Wheeler and Nola it's just interesting because, like I said, they don't get talked about as having that great of a rotation. But man, Wheeler was unbelievable. Nola the next start, not so much, but they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the World Series.
I agree, man. And Jose Alvarado was nasty in that game in the ninth. He looked really good closing out that game. And it was nighty night to the Padres in game one, man. Their only hit was Will Myers, who's been struggling mightily in the postseason. He was the only one to squeak a hit out the entire game. Jerkson Profar and Juan Soto had walks. And that was it, man. That was it as far as base runners goes. Wheeler was absolutely dominant. We're a really good game there. Good pitching matchup, 2 home runs, and that one was over. Game two was a little different, David. The Padres did come back and get game two. A little more offense in this game as the Padres go and win 8-5. And like you were just mentioning, Nola did not look good. And hopefully this was just a little bump in the road for him going into the World Series. But he struggled mightily, going 4 2/3, giving up 6 earned, 6 Ks, which was good, but gave up 7 hits. So he had a rough outing for sure, Nola. And then it became a bullpen game where they've used 5 more relievers after Nola could not last to the end of the fifth there. And Blake Snell didn't pitch very well either. Went 5 innings, gave up 4 himself, 6 Ks. And then Nick Martinez came in relief and kind of was a key for them in that game.
Yes.
Pitched 2 solid shutdown innings there, man. And I don't know, David, when you saw Nick Martinez pitching, there's something about that guy that I really like. I think he's a pretty good reliever. What are your thoughts on Nick Martinez?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. They used him multiple times in this series. Was great. If I'm not mistaken, I think he played in Japan or Korea. They signed him to a decent sized contract, which was kind of a head scratcher. But now I guess we see why. The other thing I thought was in game two, Hader just came in there and leveled the Phillies, man. I still love me some Josh Hader. I know he had a minute where something was wrong or whatever, but 12 or 13 pitches, 3 strikeouts, no hit, perfect inning. Man, I still think, I know we still got a couple more games to go, but I still think the Padres are going to be a force to be reckoned with for a while with Machado and Soto. I'm not sure what was going on with Soto this year, the low average. That's weird. But wow, I mean, they're going to be good for a while.
Yeah, and they'll get Tatis back at some point next year, and obviously that's going to help them mightily as well. But good point on Hader, man. That could not go without being said on how dominant he was in that game. He did not get touched. Josh Bell was awesome in this game, 3 hits, 2 RBI himself, and Brandon Drury 2 for 4 with 3 ribbies himself as well. Machado had 3 hits. The Padres offense woke up mightily in this game. Very good job by them. Bryce Harper with yet another awesome game, 2 for 4 in that one as well. Leading the way for the Phillies in that game as well, which eventually he led to being the NLCS MVP because of the numbers he put up in the 4 games. So moving on to game 3, David, the Phillies come back. They come home, which is their first playoff game at home in a very long time. And they didn't disappoint the Philly faithful, going on to win this game 4-2. Great game this was. It was a lot of fun to watch this one. Mightily enjoyed this one as Joe Musgrove came out and wasn't as down as I thought he was going to be. Went 5 2/3, gave up 4 runs and a bomb as well. And Ranger Suarez has been pretty good this year, David.
Yeah.
I like his numbers. Didn't go very deep in this one. Only went 5, 1 earned run. Talk about Ranger Suarez for a minute, where he kind of came from.
Well, it is a great question. Where did he come from? So last year, I remember looking through fantasy rankings and came across his name, didn't recognize it, had several wins. And the dude was super dominant towards the end of last year. And this year, a respectable year. But man, yeah, he looked good in his start there. I don't really know what to think about him as obviously they're 3. Again, you match them up with the Astros rotation. It probably doesn't look favorable for the Phillies, but we both know this is all about who gets hot at the right time. And, what can you say about Ranger Suarez? I mean, he went up against a great lineup, only gave up 2 hits, 68 pitches in 5 innings. He could have went longer. And I don't know. What do you think about Ranger Suarez, DJ?
Yeah, I kind of think the same thing. Kind of came out of nowhere, just kind of just has been real quietly good this year for
I'm
them. And
thinking he's about 28 or 30. I need to look that up, but he kind of just popped up out of nowhere, about like Nestor Cortez.
yeah, you're exactly right. That's a good comparison there because Cortez came out of nowhere too. And if this kid can keep going with this, the Phillies have got found a little young gem there that we didn't really know too much about going into the season. And as the season went along, man, I quickly grabbed him on fantasy and was like, this guy needs to be owned because he's doing so well. And then yeah, man. So then Alvarado came in this game in more of a hold type of relief and got 2 strikeouts in his inning. And Sir Anthony Dominguez was nasty getting the save in this one. So the Phillies are using Rob Thompson is using a different kind of a closer by committee thing with the
Mhm.
Phillies. I don't know if you noticed that as much, David, but
Yep.
he's been kind of going to different guys based off of how he's feeling with the game going, and it's been working out for him, man. And I've said this 100 times, but to be able to work your rotation and your relievers is the hardest thing to do as a manager by far. And he did a really good job in this game. Schwarber was 2 for 4 with a ribby, having another great game in this one as well. He also had another home run off of Joe Musgrove that was deep to center field. That was a bomb too. That went high up in the trees there in Philly. Absolute shot. And Alec Baum with a good game, 2 for 3 with a ribby, and Gene Segura with 2 more ribbies, man. Gene Segura, David, has in his first playoff, the first time he's ever been in the playoffs, this guy has not disappointed. He's been nasty, and not just this series, but in the series before with Gene Segura. What are your thoughts on him, man?
Yeah, I'm glad to see him getting his chance. He's been a player that's been good for a minute. I picked him up in fantasy this year too because he's kind of sneaky. He's one of those guys that'll fill up every category. He's not a star, not somebody who's talked about as one of the better second basemen in the league, but a sneaky good player.
No doubt, man. And then we get into game 4 here, which is the one that um, kind of set this series up for the Phillies to take the whole thing here by going up 3-1 in the series. A huge 10-6 win uh, on October 22nd, which was Saturday night. This was another shootout type of game where these pitchers just kind of came into the game. It was more of like a bullpen game, David. It really blew up in the first inning. Both starters were out of the
Mhm.
game, if you remember that right. Mike Clevenger gave up 3 runs in the first, and Bailey Falter came in 2/3 of an innings, gave up 4 right away to the Padres, man. And just when you thought that the Padres were going to take this game by getting 4 huge runs in the first, here come the Phillies with 3 in the bottom of the first. And then it was just a shootout from there, and a 4-run bottom of the fifth kind of won it for the Phillies there, man. But what were your thoughts on that, man? 4-3 after the first. It was probably like a 35-minute inning both ways, and then both pitchers were out of the game. I could see it happening for the Phillies more than I could the Padres with Clevenger going out, but that was just nuts, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know what's up with Clevenger. It's his second straight bad appearance in the playoffs. The Dodgers let him up to. So kind of weird. Also kind of weird. Shamanaya comes in and gets rocked rocked as well. Nick Martinez came in, 3 shutout innings, 3 Ks, perfect innings. It looks like San Diego is going to have the upper hand, and then Mania comes in and gets bombed. But that again, I got to watch a lot of this game. Great game. I don't know what the thought process behind the starters was, but like you said, it definitely seemed like they were kind of setting up for a bullpen game. Both pitchers or both teams. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was really surprised on the Phillies part. They ended up using 7 pitchers, David, and Noah Syndergaard I thought was going to be the starter here. He kind of came in a reliever role towards the end of the game, threw an inning and a third of scoreless ball, but I don't really know. I mean, that one caught me off guard. I thought for sure
Yeah.
Syndergaard was starting that night, and he got thrown in a different role. And then, Zach Eflin was the one who closed this game out, so he used yet another guy to close the game. I know these aren't necessarily save type situations when you win 10-6, but it's a playoff, so it's kind of like a save. So you're using him at the end now. So you got 3 different guys at the end of the game for the Phillies relievers. to end it. So, man, Rob Thompson definitely was pulling the right strings and made it work somehow, man. And Connor Brogdon came in the game right after Falter, and you're just like, who are these guys? But they got by, man. And what were your thoughts overall on the teams using 6 for the Padres and 7 for the Phillies in that game?
I'm like you, man. I think it's weird that Syndergaard's pitching out of the bullpen, but I just look back at his game by game, and it's been that way the whole playoff. So definitely a planned thing. Another thing I'll say is I'm glad to see my boy David Robertson, DJ, back in there, still doing it the same way that he did it before. Curveballs. I love me some David Robertson, very underrated reliever. But yeah, super weird. But I mean, that's just the way baseball has changed, man. Strategy has changed. Used to be back in the day, you start out with your starter, you kind of rode him up to 100 pitches, see how far that would get you, and then you started the relievers in. But now, as soon as the starter gets in trouble, out. I mean, Ranger Swor has 68 pitches in 5 innings. I mean, he wasn't even in trouble. Out.
Yeah.
So it's just analytics, and it's changed the game.
Good point, man. So Reese Hoskins with a big bomb in this game. Kyle Schwarber got another one, David. He's was an animal in this series. JT Realmuto also went deep for the Phillies. Man, their offense looked really good in this game. Hoskins had 4 ribbies. Bryce Harper 2 for 4 with 2 ribbies. Man, were they on fire offensively. That's a lot of runs to score in an NLCS when you get 10 runs there. But man, that was a fun game to watch. I'm like you. That's the one that I think out of the whole series is the game that I watched the most of there on Saturday night. And that was a good game, man. And then we went to Sunday for the last one. And this was I didn't see very much of this game at all with it being Sunday. So 4-3 Phillies take the series 4-1, David. This was a really good game. And Bryce Harper, David, this is his game. This is just an absolute clutch performance by him. A lot of people don't really like Bryce Harper. I'm not one of those guys. I've always liked Bryce Harper. I've always been a fan of his on and off the field. I just think he's a really cool guy, and I kind of get where people kind of maybe he rubs a lot of people the wrong way, but I've never really seen that out of him. He's probably, David, the most hyped high school player in our lifetime, to be honest with you. I don't really know if I've ever seen a high school kid who was more hyped than Bryce Harper ever was. And I don't know if that kind of put a target on him where people don't like him as much. I don't really know what it is. What do you think, David?
I think he was the first of the showy players. Now everybody pimps home runs, as they call it. Bryce Harper was kind of the starter of that, and it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Now it's, a normal, happening every home run. Oswaldo Cabrera hit a home run. He's a nobody. I love him, by the way, but he's, a nobody in this league, and bat flip and all that. And I'm thinking, come on, man. But that's where we are. I know we're going to talk about it. Garrett Cole. Well, actually, that was the last series, the rock and the baby thing. Man, back in the day, that would have been ear hole the next time up. But that's what it is. I think it's just the cockiness, and Bryce Harper definitely is on the low end of that scale now. Just in the beginning, rubbed people the wrong way.
That's a good point, man. He was kind of one of those guys that would stand there and watch and do all that kind of stuff. But the big 2-run homer in the bottom of the 8th when the Phillies were down 3-2, still kind of in shock by that, to be honest with you. Just an absolute bomb. You knew it right off the bat that it was over for him. Robert Suarez got the loss, gave up the home run. Darvish pitched 6 innings in this game, gave up 2 runs. Wasn't quite as dominant as his first one. Still only gave up 2 runs, though, so he did not pitch bad. Zach Wheeler, yet again, 6 innings, 2 runs. And then the Sir Anthony Dominguez, Alvarado, Robertson, Ranger Suarez. Suarez is the guy who got the save in this one, David. So he started the game and he closed this one, man. So we've seen 4 different guys close the games in this series, which is absolutely nuts to me. But it worked, man. And Suarez came in there, and Robertson, walked a couple guys there in the 9th and kind of made it interesting there. And then Suarez came in and shut the door. Series over. Reese Hoskins with yet another bomb in this game, man, and it was just a really fun game there. So pretty crazy yet again. What are your thoughts on the Harper home run being so clutch, man?
Yeah. Again, Bryce Harper is the man. He's definitely not underrated. Everybody's known for a while how good Bryce Harper was, but it's hard to forget as well that when he left Washington the very next year they won the World Series, and it was kind of like haha in your face. So this is Bryce Harper's kind of comeback tour, I think, carrying his team. I'm so happy for the Phillies, to be honest with you. I love a kind of underdog story. I saw today that they had the single uh, day record for sales of merchandise today. It
Wow.
actually eclipsed the 2016 Cubs. So pretty wild, man. Everybody is excited about the Phillies being in the World Series.
Wow, that's unbelievable, man. I did not hear that. So that's really cool thing, man. Well, there's no doubt that they were showing up in droves to the Phillies field there. 45,485 was the paid attendance there for that last Phillies game on Sunday there, man. What an awesome series. Phillies deserved it, man. They played outstanding. They just dominated the playoffs, man, and are well deserving of where they're at, man. And the Padres, like you said, I think we were talking before the show a little bit here. The Padres are not going anywhere with Tatis coming back soon and all the talent that they have, and that he's not going to sit on what they've got. He's going to keep being aggressive and get more guys. So great series, great. The Padres knocked the Dodgers off, David. So I
Yeah,
mean, they took down the biggest giant in this entire league, and what a great year by them.
yeah, absolutely. And they're like you just said, they're going to be fun to watch for years to come. This Tatis saga is going to be interesting. It definitely seems as if things are a little sour there. So hopefully he could grow up. If I'm just going to be blunt about it, and he was a fun player to watch still to this day, even though he hasn't played in over a year. It's like my kid's favorite player to watch and to imitate. So I hope he can get it together.
I hear you, man. So before we get to the American League Championship Series, I kind of want to break this up a little bit, talk about one little thing before we move on here to the ALCS and the World Series preview. David, we lost another Hall of Famer this week, Bruce Sutter. This is a tough one, man. He's a former Cub. I did not see him pitch in a Cub uniform. I only caught him at the end of his career when he was a Brave. But man, I heard a lot of stories, and when you're, like obviously our dads and grandpas and everything told us a lot of things about baseball and talked about a lot of different players. I would hear a lot about Bruce Sutter, man, and the time that he spent with the Cubs. He was outstanding. He was untouchable to say the least. With that splitter, sometimes, man, if that thing was on, it was game over for whoever he was pitching for. And this is back in the day when relievers, David, would go 2-3 innings for saves, which to me is way more impressive than the saves that they get now, where they can even come in for one batter and close it out and get a save. That just didn't happen back in the day. You would come in with no middle reliever basically right after the starter and close the game. After the starter went six, you would go 7, 8, 9 back in those days. And uh, awesome, man. He won a Cy Young Award. He was very close to winning an MVP 4 times as a reliever. No, 5 times as a reliever. He was in the top 7 for MVP. So that's hard to do, obviously, when you're a reliever, unless you're, Mariano Rivera, Trevor Hoffman. Those things just don't really happen, man. And 300 career saves, right on the number. 299, David, would not have been as cool. So I'm really glad that he did reach the 300 pinnacle on the mark, kind of like Roberto Clemente with 3,000 hits on the nose. 2999 would not have looked as cool. So really cool that these guys made those milestone numbers just barely like that. But man, was he was dominant to say the least. And one of the things that I really kind of remember, not remember from being old enough to see it, but Marquee Network will play a lot of times some classic games, and Ryan Sandberg kind of broke out of his shell, so to speak, with what is called the Ryan Sandberg game, where he bombed 2 off of Bruce Sutter in a game and had an enormous amount of RBI when the Cubs came back and won a huge game off of Bruce Sutter, who at the time was untouchable pitcher. And that's something that always pops up when you see Bruce Sutter too. Obviously, that was probably a negative thing for him, obviously, but just one of the things that's really cool about it when you see him getting bombed there by Ryan Sandberg. Led the league in saves 5 different times, David. This guy was a true Hall of Famer. And one of my favorite things about Hall of Fame weekend, David, is when you kind of start the ceremony, you see all the old timers come in, and they all get introduced. They all go sit down. Unfortunately, man, it seems like in the last 3 or 4 years we've lost so many of these guys, and we've lost yet another one. But Bruce Sutter, man, what an outstanding career. David, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, pioneer of the splitter. I'm going to be honest. I I'm not sure about his Hall of Fame case. Just being straight about it. But obviously a trendsetter. Like I said, with the splitter and the multi-inning save, 300 saves is hard to argue with. He was dominant for a long time. I didn't realize he had that many top 7 MVP finishes. Again, not a guy that I really got to watch play, so I can't say a whole lot about him. But obviously, a great career. Seemed to be well liked throughout the industry. We know that sometimes guys aren't, and so seemed like a good guy.
283 career ERA as well, which is pretty solid, man. He had a great career and spent 5 years with the Cubs, 4 with the Cardinals, and 3 with the Braves. And definitely will be missed. Bruce Sutter, definitely rest in peace to him as well, and prayers to his family at this time as well. So, David, now we move on. I know this is a little tough one for you here, but we got a lot of things to talk about because this was just an absolutely crazy series as far as the Astros and the Yankees go. So, David, kicking off with game number 1 in Houston, a 4-2 win by the Astros. Justin Verlander gets a win. Clark Schmidt is kicked with a loss, and Ryan Presley got the save in this game. So, game number 1, basically the highlights, David. Both teams go back and forth in the second inning with a run, and then in the 6th inning, the Astros get 2, tack on another one in the 7th before the Yankees get 1 at the top of the 8th. Harrison Bader got a bomb in the 2nd inning this game, David, and Rizzo hit one as well in the 8th inning to kind of keep it somewhat close to where they were in shouting distance there to maybe make a case in the 9th inning. It just did not happen. Giancarlo Stanton was 2 for 4. Rizzo was 1 for 2 with a walk, and then pretty much everybody else in the lineup struggled mightily except for Bader's home run. The offense just was not there besides those guys just mentioned. Man, what were your thoughts on the offense in game 1?
Well, the Yankees were behind the 8 ball before this game ever started. When you got to go into the series with your number 4 or 5 starter starting the game, you know you're in trouble against Justin Verlander. But again, it set the tone. There was just some weird decisions by Boone. One was starting Matt Carpenter after he's been gone this entire time. First game you get a hit is against Justin Verlander. It just seemed really weird. The other thing that I disagree with him with was Oswald Peraza has been playing shortstop for the better part of a month, hit over 300. A lot better fielder than Falefa. We saw some problems with Connor Falefa's fielding that hurt the Yankees in this series, but I mean, overall, Verlander just dominant just as ever. Tyone honestly pitched 4 good innings. Clark Schmidt comes in, big spot for a rookie. He's been mediocre at best. And like I was talking to you off air, DJ, the Yankees, people don't realize how ravaged by injury they've been. 2 of their better players, which were DJ LeMahieu and Benintendi, not playing this series. Due to injury, they had to start Oswaldo Cabrera out in left field. Not a great hitter, great fielder. Donaldson was trash this entire series in multiple ways. Man, Houston was just a lot better. The gap between Houston and the Yankees, especially in this series, is wide, and obviously all year. I mean, Houston dominated the Yankees every series, so they deserve to be there.
David, one of the things that really sticks out to me in this game and in the series especially is the amount of times that the Yankees struck out. 17 Ks in game 1 to the Astros only striking out twice. You're never going to win those games. I'm sorry. And so the bats were never put on the ball in this series. And a lot of that is credit to the Astros pitching, which has been unbelievable all season long. I mean, we have to hand it to these guys. They're about as dominant a staff, if not the dominant staff of the season. Verlander had 11 of those, and he's a Cy Young. So you got to kind of hand it to him as far as them being good and everything. But one of the things I wanted to ask you about too in this game, and I didn't forget about him obviously, but you kind of like when he's brought in the game, you're like, man, what a bust that was. Is Frankie Montas comes in for 1 inning there, and
Again,
what was that all about, David?
DJ, this is just one of those decisions. It's like, what are we doing? Montas has been terrible with the Yankees from the day that they got him. I hope he turns it around. We got him for next year too. But big spot, and you bring in Montas, who hasn't pitched in like a month. I couldn't even really figure out why he was even on the playoff roster. It's just such a weird, odd decision. I think Boone's going to survive, but to be honest, I'm not so sure he needs to. I think the Yankees need a fresh look at everything right now because, like I said, the gap is wide. I think this is the Astros' 5th straight ALCS. And with the way the Yankees spend and stuff, it just would not be acceptable if I'm the owner. But hey, one breakout star you'll like to this, Harrison Bader, DJ. He's the new Brett Gardner. This is my guy now. He's he played great, made you forget about Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah, he did have a good series. I will give that to you. Every time he did something good, I was like, well, David's gonna rub that in my face a little bit. So Jeremy Pena was 3 for 4. What a great job he's been doing of replacing Correa, man. Just when you think that the Astros kind of lost something with Correa, he fills the gap awesome this year, and they're back into the World Series. Chas McCormick was the other guy in this game who had an awesome game with 2 for 3 with an RBI and 2 runs scored. And Yuli Gurriel and Jeremy Pena with the bombs in this game as well. So game 1 was tough. Astros kind of got off to a pretty good start there with Verlander dominant. And then game 2 happens, and the Astros win an even closer game, 3-2 in game 2, David. So going for the recap there, the Astros get all 3 runs in the bottom of the 3rd, and the Yankees get both their runs in the top of the 4th. So they answer right away. But then from that point on, it was shut down baseball. So just an absolute crazy game from that perspective. The end of this game just ended up being nothing as far as the runs go. Framber, we've talked about the quality starts with him all season long. 7 innings pitched, no earned runs, 2 runs total. None of them earned. 9 Ks, 4 hits. Combining with Brian Abreu and Ryan Presley, who got yet to save again, there's another 13 strikeouts for the Yankees offense, David, and it's totally unacceptable. That's 30 in the first 2 games, which is unbelievable. And then Severino for the Yankees, 5 1/3, 3 earned runs, and they just couldn't do it, man. And Bregman had 3 big ribbies in this game. He had all 3 of them on the home run off of Luis Severino in the 3rd inning. So just an absolute crazy game by Bregman. Big home run there. Yuli Gurriel with 2 hits. What were your thoughts overall on game 2?
Yeah, the Yankee pitching was not the problem any of this series. And the one name that we haven't mentioned that you would have thought we would have been talking about this entire time was Aaron Judge. He's been missing since home run number 60. And again, we talked about this. I hate it that the fans have kind of gotten on him, but it comes with the territory, man. If you can't handle this kind of stuff, you just don't need to be in New York. Boo Birds came out those last few games, and it was because he had opportunities and just couldn't do it. I think this is the game when he had the shot to right field that would have been out, 99% of the time, but the roof was open and the wind was blowing and knocked it down. I think it was 111 miles an hour off the bat and knocked it down, would have changed the complexion of the game. But again, if in the normal season, we're talking about Framber Valdez being in the Cy Young conversation if Justin Verlander wasn't so good. So good luck to the Phillies, having to face those 2 guys along with a great bullpen and great hitting. And the Astros are just a complete team.
So be honest, after game 2, did you have any faith at all whatsoever in this series?
DJ, I didn't have any faith going into game 1. Again, that especially with the way things went with the season or the series before getting delayed, having to play the next day after going 5 games with Cleveland. I just knew, man, this was going to be an uphill battle. And the Astros were rested, ready to go, and their aces just bam, bam, back to back. You know, we had to wait till game 4 for Garrett Cole, who was lined up to pitch in game 1. It just wasn't meant to be.
Game 3, the Astros 5-0, and Yankees offense did nothing in this one as well. 3 total hits. The Astros got 2 runs in the second, 3 in the sixth inning for the big win here. And the Yankees offensively had 11 strikeouts in this one too. So double digits Ks again as a team. Only 3 hits, and those guys who got the hits were 1 for 4. So nothing crazy. Your boy Bader was the best out of this whole series. Best in this game as well. 1 for 3 with a walk. That's the most production that you got offensively from a single individual. And Christian Vasquez, 2 RBI. Chas McCormick, 2 RBI on a home run that he got off of Garrett Cole in the second inning, which Garrett Cole gave up a lot of home runs this season. What is his problem, man?
Most of his home runs I do know are off of his fastball. I think he tried to change that his last few starts, tried to incorporate more breaking pitches, into his arsenal. He still throws in the upper 90s, but everybody does. I'm still a believer in Garrett Cole. I still like Garrett Cole. I don't think, he's had some hiccups in the playoffs. I don't think that's representative of who he is. I think it just comes with the territory, man. You throw as many fastballs as he does, throw as hard as he does. A few of those are going to leak out. But I'm still a believer, man.
Well, that's good to hear, man, because you're locked into him for a long time. So hopefully he can turn it around and get back on track there for him. And he wasn't terrible this year, but he did have a home run problem. That's for sure.
He led the league. I think,
yeah,
if I'm not mistaken, he gave up 33 home runs or something like that, 35 home runs throughout the season. Yeah, 3.50 ERA is not what you sign up for when you pay a guy almost $40 million. But he did lead the league in strikeouts.
Yeah.
He's got a home run problem. He's got the stuff. It's fixable. So I'm not too worried about Garrett Cole.
He did break the single season strikeout record of Ron Guidry, man. I mean, so you're doing something really awesome when you can do that. But it just seemed like it was, when he did something so great like that, it just kind of the home runs overshadowed a little bit.
It was an uneven season.
It was uneven. That's a good way of putting it. It's kind of a tough read on how his season went, to be honest with you. Christian Javier, another stud guy that the Astros have that's very quiet and under the radar. 5 1/3, no runs, 5 Ks. He pitched awesome in this game as well. 84 pitches, and he was out, and then they went to 5 relievers after him. So,
DJ, if you had to guess at Christian Javier's ERA for the year, what would it be?
I would guess 3.10.
254.
Wow.
11-9. I don't know how you lose 9 games with a 254 ERA and 194 Ks, a whip under 1.
Oof, that's a lot.
Most people don't even know who Christian Javier is.
True.
And that's their number 3 starter. I'm telling you, man, this team is stacked.
That is a good point, man. They are totally stacked. And then game 4 on Sunday, we have the sweep. The Astros win 6-5. Both these series end on Sunday, David, and a lot of time between now and the World Series with a 5-game break before Friday night when we start the World Series, David. And this was a tough one to swallow. Obviously, I mean, I'm sure for you that the Yankees jumped ahead in this one 3-0, and then the Astros had a big third inning, got 4 runs, and then it felt like here we go kind of thing, and the Astros just put them away for good there to end this series. And 9 strikeouts for the Yankees offense in this one. Only they woke up a little bit more with the hitting. They got 9 hits in this game. 2 RBI from Rizzo. Rizzo had a pretty good series. He was pretty good for them. One more thing I kind of wanted to ask you about this, and that I'm a big Anthony Rizzo guy. Obviously, he's one of my favorite players of all time, and still is. But David, I just don't understand how you put Anthony Rizzo behind Judge and don't put Stanton there. I really feel like you have to have Stanton behind Judge to protect him better. I know you're scared of Rizzo too a little bit, but I don't think the fear factor of Rizzo is more than the fear factor of Stanton. I would have put Stanton 3 and Rizzo 4. Do you have a preference on that? Do you think it matters? What's your thoughts on that?
I don't think it matters personally. Stanton, he's had again, uneven. He's had his moments. He also goes through moments where he can't hit at all, strikes out all the time. Rizzo to me is a little bit better player at this point, so I don't have any problem with it. They went apart in the season when Rizzo batted leadoff and Judge batted second because Rizzo was getting on base. But if you want to know what the Yankees' problem was this series, Jose Trevino, 0 batting average. Oswaldo Cabrera, 0 batting average. Josh Donaldson, 0.77. Aaron Judge, 0.63. You can't win games when you got guys out there like that. So that's like 5 of your best players, or five good players. That's 5 people in your lineup with batting averages under 100. Matt Carpenter, 100 on the nose. So,
ouch.
They had like 2 players show up, which was Bader and Rizzo, and Stanton to a lesser extent. But everybody else.
And I'll be honest with you, man. Josh Donaldson in Game 4, I don't know what to really say about it other than when you're struggling that bad, I guess, and you are that terrible as he was. I mean, he was 0 for 4 with 3 Ks, but this isn't 0 for 4 where you're just having a bad day. He was absolutely off. Not even
DJ, he
close.
was flailing at the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it would have looked any different if me or you would have got up there. I'm serious. I'm dead serious.
No.
One of the swings, somebody took a picture of it on Twitter, I believe it was. He literally was on one knee, and the ball was at his head, and his bat was literally, I don't know how you miss a ball that bad. It was somewhere in between off balance and stepping in the bucket. I don't even know how to explain it, but Josh Donaldson was 100% lost. He comes up in the 8th inning in Game 4, 1 run down, and literally looks at strike 3 right down the middle of the plate. I mean, it couldn't have been a worse pitch for the pitcher to throw right down the middle. Watched it, just lost. I mean, just
blame the umpire.
Yeah, when that happens as a hitter, you're just overmatched and lost. And I know, DJ, I've been there. I don't know if you have or not, just where you just can't find it. And
absolutely, I've been there.
Again, at what point does your manager not look at that and say, we got to do something else? I don't know what that something else is, but he's obviously lost.
Yeah.
But never happened. He never came out of the lineup. It's just so weird to me.
Unreal, man. Yeah, this was just it was a tough one. They ran into a brick wall. They ran into a really good team. Let's just be honest, man. And the Astros are really nasty, and Altuve is finally hitting a little bit. He started the postseason with like the worst postseason numbers you've ever seen. At one point, he was 0 for 24, and it started to put some hits together there and string them together. Jeremy Pena with another 3 big ribbies in this game. Yordan Alvarez kind of woke up a little in this one with 2 hits. Altuve had 2 hits. So these guys were on, man, and here's yet another great thing the Astros have, David. Their number 4 starter is Lance McCullers Jr.,
who is 2.27 ERA, by the way,
who is an ace on a lot of teams, man. Just be honest. I mean, this guy is unreal too. And 5 innings, 3 earned runs, 6 Ks. He didn't have the greatest outing, but he's nasty. And the Astros are completely loaded with starting pitching. And Ryan Presley's made himself a really good job holding down the fort at the end of that game there, being their closer. What a great team that was. So David, man, tough as it is, give me like a 2-minute rundown here of what you think the Yankees need to do to kind of turn this around, because they've definitely got to shake a few things up.
I think the Yankees need a complete change in vision. That's what I think. To say, I know if they made this change or that change, it would have been different. I can't say that, because going into the season and for the first quarter of the season, it looked like all the right pieces were in place. I think Brian Cashman needs to go. Damon Oppenheimer, who's their draft guy, needs to go. The Yankees have plenty of money. This kind of stuff, this dominance can't happen year after year. You can't let the Astros be that dominant for that long. So, as far as player personnel goes, I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little bit conflicted about Judge. He's 30. And even if he would have tore it up in the playoffs, I would still feel this way because we've seen this with Albert Pujols, we've seen this with Giancarlo Stanton right now. We're going to get a couple good years out of him, maybe a mediocre year or two, and then you're going to be stuck with a $30 million guy. I would love to have him back, but I just don't know if that's the right move, to be honest with you. So I know that's a broad answer to a question. I'm asked look around. You can't. How are you going to get rid of Josh Donaldson? That's a guy I'd like to see go. How can you get rid of $30 million? That's literally what it's going to cost. I don't think you can. So we're stuck with him. You got LeMahieu coming back. I don't know where you put him because I want to see them sign Rizzo. That's one thing that's got to get done. I'd like to see them sign Rizzo. He's been a good thing, a good leader on the team. Do you play LeMahieu at third next year and just use Donaldson kind of as a utility guy and plug him in here and there? Maybe. I'd like to see Peraza at shortstop instead of Falefa. I like him, but Peraza's ready to play, so I hope they play him. There's been talks of trading Gleyber Torres. I'm not sure I'm on board with that. He's still just 26 years old. I'm just not sure I'm behind that 100%. So anyway, like I said, really broad answer. I'm just not really 100% sure what to think about the whole thing at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. They just got knocked out. I totally understand. Like, we're not really in off-season mode yet when you just got knocked out. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, and it's going to happen really fast here after the World Series, where we're going to start to see a lot of moves in November. Is kind of when we start to see them happening. So it's right around the corner. Free agency and trades that we'll start to see, especially in November, December. We can get into it in a show here in a couple weeks about some off-season stuff once we're done with the season here and kind of wrap our heads around it a little bit more now that all the steam from the season ends and we can kind of see what the Cubs and Yankees kind of have in store for their off-season plans and what we can hope that our teams can get back on track here for our 2023 season that can look a little bit better for us. So as we close tonight, David, we'll talk a little bit about the upcoming World Series here that starts on Friday. We've got a huge break, which we never have in between the NLCS, ALCS, and the World Series, simply because both those series ended on the same day, very early in the series, 4 games and 5 games. So we do have a lineup of starting on Friday with a 8:03 Eastern time start. I want your thoughts on the 8:03 World Series Eastern time start.
I don't know why MLB does this. It's so
every
stupid.
game is 8:03.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. I mean, hey, MLB, do you want young fans? Do you want any? Yeah. Do you care? Because the average kid can't stay up till midnight watching a playoff game. I hate to tell you, but I'm definitely out on that. I don't know why MLB is doing that. It should be at the latest a 7:00 start. It's after dinner for most people. It's just the perfect time to sit down and watch a ball game. But guess we'll be watching Jeopardy instead, DJ.
David, I'm dead serious when I say this. Like, I think of Leland when I think of this because, me and you can stay up late. We can fight through and get through a game like this. And it's not ideal by any means for us since we work so early in the morning. But we could do it. Now, Leland, you want him to watch the World Series. Like, you want your son, you want to watch this game. But these games go 3.5, 4 hours in the World Series, man. And that's midnight for you when this game's over. It's just so hard on a school night, man.
Makes no sense. DJ, am I mistaken? Is Monday Night Football? What time does it start?
7:15 my time, so that'd be 8:15 yours.
8:15 my time. So it's in the same slot that MLB's in.
Yeah.
Regardless, I just completely disagree with it. I think it's crazy.
So I seriously, I know that the West Coast is kind of the, you start the game really early when you make it easier for us in Chicago time and Eastern time, but it's not fair to the Eastern time zone. It never has been. It never will be. And I hate that, man, for the kids. I really do. This game needs the youth we need to push this forward with more youth. And when you're starting on the East Coast at 8:03, that's
DJ,
unexpected.
let's go from the West Coast perspective. Is 5 and 6 really that different?
No.
Not that different. It's not more people aren't going to turn the TV on at 6 than they would have at 5. I don't believe that at all.
Yeah.
7 o'clock, man. It needs to be 7 o'clock. There's Audrey.
There she is. Hi, Audrey. I thought she's gonna bring a big sign for me saying the Cubs stink in 2023 or something like that.
There's one around here. Yep, she's got it right here.
Uh-oh.
That's the same. It's the same from last time.
That's awesome. So cool. But yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, if you started at 8:03, I guess that is 5:03 on the West Coast, right? So they're starting at 5 o'clock. Push it back to 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock my time, 5 o'clock Mountain, 4 o'clock West Coast. Something. Maybe 7:30 your time, 6:30, 5:30, 4:30. Not 8 o'clock though. Not 8, 7, 6, 5.
No, I just don't think it. Again, if it's early game, I just don't think it moves the needle that far in the West Coast. I just don't believe it. But maybe they have statistics that show otherwise.
So who's your pick to win the World Series, David, and how many games?
I think the Astros destroy it 4 games.
A sweep?
And it pains me to say it. You know, I'm not a big Astros fan, but just look at the pitching matchups, man. Let's just start there. You know, Verlander, Framber, Christian Javier, and McCullers against Wheeler and Verlander. That'll be good. What is it? Suarez or
Yep.
Nola? Suarez. I don't even know who the fourth guy is. But then
Syndergaard maybe, but they didn't even use him.
Yeah. I think they're going to plow through it. I could be dead wrong. The Phillies are hot. That we know that the best team doesn't always win the World Series. We saw that last year. The Dodgers, were dominant, and this year, Dodgers were really dominant, and just couldn't get it done. So it's about who's hot right now. But I think the Astros are going to just plow through. What do you think?
I do too. I 100% agree. I do think it will be maybe 5 games I'll go with instead of 4. I do think maybe they'll sneak one of these games out in Philadelphia. But David, man, I'll tell you this right now. I am pulling for the Phillies.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, good. Yeah. So we're on the same page there. I obviously just love Kyle Schwarber. I mean, I have a dog named after him. Big part of the 2016 team. So just much love there for him. I just like their guys, man. I've always liked Bryce Harper. I like Zach Wheeler, just gets it done. I love Nola. These guys just play. Hoskins is quiet. What a good guy he is. JT Real Muto. I mean, how do you not like these guys? Gene Segura, who's just been nothing but a gamer his whole career and finally get an opportunity to play on the big stage. And, Bryson Stott comes out of nowhere and he's playing great baseball. And Nick Castellanos is another former Cub. And so I just like it, man. I do. And, I don't hate the Astros, but I do pull for the Phillies and hope that they'll get this, man. But who do you give the offensive advantage to in this series as well?
That's a great question. I'm gonna say again the Astros. Yordan Alvarez is as good as anybody. Jeremy Pena has turned out to be a superstar. He's every bit as good a fielder as Correa was, and at least as good a hitter. Bregman, superstar. Cal Tucker, and, I know that the Phillies got some great players too, but I'm going to give it to the Astros. What do you think?
Definitely the Astros. Their lineup is just disgusting. They're the best team, man. When you saw the Dodgers go down, you saw the swing go very heavily in the Astros' favor. I think the Astros were more happy to see the Dodgers go than any team in this entire playoffs because they've got the carpet just rolled out for them now, man. They really do. The only team that I think that really could have matched up with them head to head, toe to toe, is the Dodgers, and the Padres took them out for them. So
yeah, the Astros just don't have a hole. Like if you sit here and think about it, it's like the Phillies. You got to be a little bit worried about their bullpen and their starting pitching to a lesser extent. But I mean, you look at the Astros; they just don't have any holes. Ryan Stanek. I mean, is that a name you hear every day?
Nope.
ERA was 1.15 this year. When they brought him in, I mean, my jaw dropped. I couldn't believe it. I never, you don't hear anything about that dude. Got a great closer in Ryan Presley, Luis Garcia. On and on and on we go, man. They're just a very well-rounded team.
They really are, man. I just I don't see them blowing this. The only thing that could blow this for them is their manager, Dusty Baker. Hey,
I
gotta
forgot
tell
to
you
throw
this.
that in there.
Yeah, you did. I gotta tell you this. So for about 3/4 of this season, David, when Joe Girardi got canned and Rob Thompson took over, you know who I thought Rob Thompson was? I thought he was Robbie Thompson from
Second
the
baseman
Giants
from the
days.
Giants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I thought that for the until like about maybe game 2 or something like that of this past series. I was gonna I looked him up on Baseball Reference, and then they spelled Thompson differently. So I'm like, oh my gosh, it's not Robbie Thompson. Like I just thought he, sometimes when guys have like the name Bobby, when they get older, they change to Bob. Robbie goes to Rob, as they get older.
Yeah.
I thought that's what he did, but it is not that Robbie Thompson. So I don't really know where he came from. I got to kind of look into him a little bit more because I've always thought it was him. But yeah, he's done an outstanding job, David, turning this around. Joe Girardi did not have them going down the right path for whatever reason, and Rob Thompson has done an outstanding job leading them to their promised land here, man. So talk about him for a second.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to him. Longtime Yankee bench coach.
Is that where he came from?
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Do I think that Rob Thompson really turned this around? I'm gonna have to be honest, DJ, and say I don't. I think it's probably more coincidental, although he'll get the credit for it. But I'm happy for him, man. You've been a bench coach for that long. I know you interviewed for several jobs. I mean, kudos to him. And again, I'm pulling for the Phillies.
Good stuff, man. Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Best time of the year here coming up, and we'll be back with a show after the World Series here to kind of recap it, close out the season, talk about the World Series here, and have some fun doing that. Hopefully, it's with the Phillies win, and we'll see how that goes. But Dave, you got anything to add before we head out here?
Nope. All I wanted to say is, DJ, you needed some camo in your life. I just had to come on here. I just got out of the woods and make sure you experience some good West Virginia culture.
I love it, man. This is great. David's up in the woods. He comes down to the podcast out of the woods so he can give you fans what you need. So
that's exactly right.
Good stuff, man. So it was a lot of fun talking baseball with you, man. As always, I really enjoyed doing this with you. It gives us some time to kind of reflect on a lot of things and talk baseball, man, which is a big passion of ours. So I appreciate it, David. Thanks for coming on the show again tonight. And we'll be back after the World Series, and go Phillies, man. And everybody like our YouTube page and subscribe to it. We'd appreciate it. And everybody have a good night.
See ya.